The strangest thing about getting older isn't fear, it's the quiet. Not peaceful quiet. The kind you hear when everyone has gone home and you're the only one still awake. I know that quiet well. I'm 78 years old now. I didn't think I'd make it this far, and I didn't think I'd feel this quiet inside when I did. Not peaceful, just quiet, like the house after everyone's gone home and you're the only one still awake. I've seen how life ends. I've watched it from hospital chairs and living room sofas, and from the wrong side of the phone. I've been the one holding the coat, the purse, the papers, and I've been the one standing there afterward, unsure where to put my hands. At this age, endings stop being shocking. They become familiar. What surprises you is how similar people sound at the end, even when their lives were nothing alike. They don't talk about the big things. They don't talk about promotions or houses or being busy. They talk about who they didn't call, who they didn't sit with, who they thought they'd have more time for. I know because I've said some of those things myself, just not out loud. When you're young, you think regret comes from failing, from trying and falling short. But most of the regret I've seen comes from delay, from assuming tomorrow was promised, from thinking you'd get around to it once things calm down. Things don't calm down. They just end. I didn't grow up poor, but we were careful. My mother counted pennies in her head, and my father never rested without guilt. I learned early that being useful mattered, that you earned your place by staying busy. Love was there, but it was quiet. It didn't interrupt work. It waited. So I learned to wait too. I married at 23. He was kind and steady and serious about the future. Everyone approved. That should have meant something, and it did, just not in the way I thought. We built a life that looked right. Jobs, a small house, children close together so we could get it over with. We were always moving toward the next responsible thing. I don't remember us ever stopping to ask if we were happy. That wasn't a question people asked back then. You asked if the bills were paid, if the kids were fed, if you were keeping up. I was good at keeping up. I was the kind of woman people trusted. I showed up. I remembered birthdays. I volunteered. I kept the calendar in my head. I took pride in being dependable. What I didn't do very well was be present. I was always slightly ahead of myself, thinking about what needed doing next. Even when my children were small, I was already tired of the day before it was finished. I loved them, that's true. But I loved them while folding laundry, while planning dinner, while worrying about money. I loved them through a filter of obligation. I assumed there would be time later. Time when things slowed down. Time when I'd really listen. My husband and I grew polite with each other. Not unkind, just careful. We stopped arguing because it took energy. We stopped talking because silence was easier. We told ourselves this was normal. This was marriage, long and steady and dull in places. I told myself I was lucky. The years went by quietly, not dramatically. No big disasters. Just small moments I didn't notice because I was busy surviving the week. My children grew into people I admired but didn't fully know. They learned to bring me their report cards, not their fears. I was proud of them from a distance. Distance is a strange thing. You don't feel it forming. You just wake up one day and realize you don't know how close you're allowed to stand. I worked longer than I needed to. I said yes when I could have said no. I stayed late because it felt safer than going home to the same conversations we'd already had. I told myself I was being responsible. I told myself this was what adulthood looked like. Then my mother got sick. It wasn't sudden. It never is, even when people say it is. There were signs. Slowing down, forgetting things. A quiet shrinking. I visited when I could. I called when I remembered. I told myself she understood how busy I was. The last time I saw her conscious, she kept holding my hand, like she was afraid I'd leave the room. I remember feeling impatient. I remember thinking about the drive home. That memory still makes me feel small. She died on a Tuesday. I was at work. Someone had to come find me. I remember being embarrassed by the attention. Afterward, people said all the right things. She knew you loved her. You did your best. I nodded and accepted it like a gift I hadn't earned. I started noticing how people end after that, how the strong ones soften, how the busy ones finally stop moving, how the words they choose get simpler. I watched my father decline in a different way, slower, more alone. He talked about the past like it was a place he could still visit. He apologized for things I didn't remember being hurt by. He cried once, quietly, when he thought I was asleep in the chair beside him. I realized then how little time we spend telling the truth when we're healthy. My husband died 5 years later. A heart that finally admitted it was tired. We were sitting at the kitchen table when he said he didn't feel right. There were things I wanted to say in the ambulance, things I'd rehearsed in my head for years. They didn't come out. All I could manage was practical instructions. He died without knowing some parts of me. I died a little knowing that. After he was gone, the house felt too big and too honest. There was no one left to perform for, no one left to keep things moving. That's when the quiet really started. Friends faded, not all at once. One moved closer to her grandchildren, another stopped calling. I understood. We were all tired. Loneliness in old age doesn't announce itself. It arrives like dust. One day you notice the light looks different. I filled my days with small routines, the same store, the same chair, the same television shows I didn't really watch. I thought about all the moments I'd postponed, all the conversations I'd delayed because I thought there would be a better time. There usually isn't. The turning point for me wasn't dramatic. It was a neighbor. A woman younger than me, early 60s. She slipped in the shower and never came back the same. I visited her once after the stroke. She struggled to speak. Her eyes did all the talking. She held my hand and tried to say something important. I don't know what it was. I never will. I went home that day and sat on my bed and cried in a way I hadn't since my husband died. Not loud, just steady, like something finally draining. That's when it became clear. Most people don't regret what they did. They regret what they kept putting off. They regret waiting to say the thing, waiting to sit down, waiting to be softer, waiting to be honest. They regret choosing productivity over presence, approval over connection, later over now. I regret thinking love could wait. There are people I loved deeply who never really knew it, not because I didn't feel it, but because I didn't show it when it mattered. There are afternoons I traded for errands, conversations I rushed, apologies I rehearsed but never delivered. You can't go back for those. You can only see them clearly when there's no one left to receive them. If you're listening to this and you still have people, I won't tell you what to do. I'm too old to preach. I'll just say this. The days feel long when you're young. You think you're drowning in time, but it narrows quietly until one day you're choosing which memories to sit with because there aren't many new ones coming. Say the thing while your voice is strong. Sit down when someone asks you to. Let the dishes wait. Let the email wait. Most of what we call responsibility can survive a pause. Most relationships can't. I've seen how life ends. It doesn't end with noise. It ends with reflection. And the one thing people wish for over and over is not more success or more years. It's more moments they didn't rush through. If this meant something to you, I'm glad. Truly. I don't have many years left, but I have this one moment. And I wanted to use it honestly.